Hey there! Today we're going to talk about the Waterman Serenité, which is a 1200... Oh no, wait. Actually, this is a Jinhao 15. But if I really recommend you have a good look at the shape of this pen, and then look up Waterman Serenité, and you'll find there are some resemblances between the two pens. Except this one is actually 99 cents, and the Serenité is $1,200. Of course, there are some differences. The Serenité has more of a curvature, I think, and this one it has the tapering, but it's straight. But still, it's clear where they got their inspiration from. Okay, so this pen came in this box, a very simple cardboard box. It has a bit of texture, and it's just cardboard. It came in a little plastic sheath, and then, this type of box. All very simple, but more than adequate as far as I'm concerned. So, let's have a look at the pen. The parts of the pen, I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and I'll do a writing sample. So first of all, the shape of the pen is quite unique, and when I saw it I thought, well, this is pretty cool, I need to have this. So it's strongly tapered. It's quite wide there, and it gets slimmer and narrower. It passes this center band, and then it gets it gets wider once again. So I think that's quite cool. For those of you, I actually wanted to get this pen to actually just put it on my desk, to make it stand up. You can do that. You can only make it stand up on the cap. The barrel end is somewhat rounded off. Okay, so let's start with the cap. On top of the cap is a little bit of silver, and then the rest of it is black, so it's silver highlighting. It's relatively, well, it's polished relatively well. I can see my eye in there, but it's not really a mirror finish. And then we have a clip, and the clip is quite tight, but not so tight as to be useless, so that's good. It seems to be placed at a somewhat awkward angle, so it's not entirely straight. It deviates just a little bit, but it's a 99-cent pen. Okay, now we have this interesting center band, which actually is on the barrel, not on the cap, and then we have the barrel, which is all plastic with a little bit of, I think that's black plastic at the end, which is also quite reflective. Alright, so you open up the pen, just a slip cap. This is metal, so it's a little top heavy, but I don't think it's particularly annoying, especially since this is tapered. It seems to be pretty well balanced, actually. Clearly it's impossible to pose the pen, right, because it tapers there and it's narrow there, so this is not going to fit, which means that if you have extremely large hands, this may be a bit of an issue. For me, actually, even when I stretch out my fingers completely, it's still big enough to hold, so I don't think that's a huge issue. Okay, then we have the nib. The nib is extremely fine. It's hooded, and it's fine. I know this won't focus, but just to give you an idea, you can see it's almost like a mechanical pencil. That's what it reminded me of. And then we have a little feed. This is really comparable if you have a Hero 616, for example. It looks just like that, except this looks like a little bit higher quality because it has more metal parts on it, but that's just what the nib and the feed look like. I wouldn't be surprised if they use the same supplier for that. Now we have a bit of the section. This is, well, it's very smooth black plastic. As I said, I guess chrome or something, some type of metal with chrome on it, whatever. We have the lip there that keeps the cap in place, and it does a good job. It's on there fairly tightly. And then we have that nice ribbed center band, which has ribs on it. Again, I don't think you can see it, but, well, actually you can. So that's not that bad. You unscrew this. Sorry, I suddenly had a brainwave. I was thinking eyedropper. Because interestingly enough, this metal ring is only on the outside. It's put over plastic. If this could be an eyedropper, that would hold a lot of ink. Ah, but the section is metal. Well, with such a cheap pen, I might actually risk a little rust. I'll see what I can do. Okay, now we have a converter, very standard type Jinhao converter. I like these quite a bit. I once bought a pack of 10 via eBay to put in pens I didn't have converters for. I think they do a decent job. You can disassemble them completely, which is useful for cleaning. Pretty nice stuff. So then we have the section. The section says 15. and Jinhao etched in there, and that's pretty much all there's to it. There is some kind of fairly disgusting looking goo in there. I'm sure you can't really see that, but it seems to be in there. I don't know what it is, don't want to know. I'll quickly put the converter back in. Okay, so those are the parts of the pen. A fairly narrow grip section. What about it? What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? Well, it's a 99-cent pen, and then $8 shipping, so I know that they do some stuff with that and fiddle around a bit with the price, but still, it's a very cheap pen. No one will deny that. For such a cheap pen, I think this looks pretty awesome. It's a very unique shape. I mean, it's well stolen from the Serenité, but still, it's not something you see every day. I think it's fairly cool. Has a little bit of a Japanese feeling to it with the black and the shape. I think that was part of the Serenité, that's sort of shaped like a samurai sword. I think it's pretty cool. And, you know, the nib, that hoodedness, I'm not a huge fan of hooded nibs. It's very fine. I'm not a huge fan of very fine nibs, but I'll see whether I can do something with that. I probably can. Even if I can't, something I noticed was that the nib was not particularly scratchy. Now, I've had scratchier nibs, I've also had smoother nibs, but considering how fine the nib is, I don't think it's doing a bad job, so that's very positive. You can't post the pen. For me, it's not an issue as... Oh. Well, you can post the pen. Look at that. I hadn't really noticed that there's a little ridge in there. You can actually put the cap into. Now, that's fantastic. It looks odd, to say the least, but it works. You can actually post it, and then it's huge. You actually poke out the eye of the person next to you. That's interesting. In any case, it works, and it's on there pretty securely too. Nice. I didn't know that. Well, you see how useful these videos are. I find out stuff about my own pens. So that's what we've got going there. In all honesty, I don't really see any truly bad points. I mean, clearly, you know, if that clip is a little crooked, hey, you're buying a very cheap pen, and you'll get a fountain pen that works, that writes. What more can you expect? So I think the best thing I can do is show you how it writes. That's what I'm going to do next. And that's all there's to it. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, writing with the Jinhao 15. The nib is fine. The ink is Mont Blanc Burgundy, which is like writing with red wine, I think. Let's do a bit of writing. Skip. Okay, maybe a bit of fast writing. This was fairly smooth, I have to say. Well, you see a little bit of skipping right there, and here, something here. But I don't think it's terrible, actually. I think it works fairly well. I don't think anyone writes that quickly, so... Let's have a look at flexibility. I'm not really expecting a whole lot in that regard. No pressure. Increasing pressure. That's pretty much what I can get, so... Well, it looks like you can get some line variation out. Squeeze it out, but it takes a bit of effort, so I don't think, clearly the pen is not really designed for it. It is a hooded nib, so yeah, okay. What about wetness of the pen? Well, actually I was fairly surprised. This being such a fine nib, you see it lays down a pretty even patch of ink. It's actually quite wet. So that's, I was, as I said, I was pleasantly surprised. Now when I got the pen for the first time, I took a loop. I'm sure I can't really show you, my camera's not likely to focus. I should probably keep that, let's see how well we can do this. Well, that's not even that bad. So if you do this, you take your high-powered loop and you hold the nib. I won't make you nauseous, I'll stop there. When you hold the nib against the light, you should be able to see a beam of light passing between the nib tines. And often with these Chinese pens I found that that is not the case, that they're aligned a little too tightly. But with this pen it was great. There was light passing all the way up to the end of the tines, just the way I like it. Usually that makes for a pretty wet nib, and as you can see, it is. I just left it, out in the air for a bit. You saw there was a bit of a hard start, but it picks up fairly quickly and it just writes again. So it's pretty wet, it's nice, it's not nearly as scratchy as I thought it would be, which is positive, of course. So it's not a bad pen, and it sure as hell is cheaper than a Waterman Serenité. So in all, I think it's not a bad pen. If you're looking for something that looks a little different, you don't want to buy a Serenité, then I think this may actually be an interesting option to consider. So I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.